We're Pathfinders, listen to our song. Loving nature's what we do, so won't you come along? We'll journey on together, sharing what we know. Looking for adventure everywhere we go. We're Pathfinders.
Good morning, Pathfinders. A big welcome along to our session today. Who's watching along live? A big welcome to all of you. We had lots of new Pathfinders join us last week, so it's very exciting to see our Nature Studies Club growing. So a big welcome back to lots of you. There's a lot watching. I'll do a few shout outs to lots of you popping up in the comments. Hi, Tiana and Erin. Hello, Willow and Caden. Hi, Myla and Eleanor. Hello to Eve and hello to Amaya. Ivy's here again. Molly, Isla, Finley and Alora. Samantha and William, hello to you. Molly and Beth, Peter and Lucy. Hi, Josh. How are you? Someone's asked. I'm fine, thanks. I've had a really good week, actually. But we have had a right muddle of weather where I am. We've had a bit of rain and it's been quite windy, but we've also had some beautiful, brilliant sunny days. I even got a rainbow one day this week. What has the weather been like with you? I know today across the UK, we've got a few rumbling thunderstorms happening. So we couldn't have picked a better day, really, to have our Rumbles and Crumbles session. Right, shall we crack on then, Pathfinders? What do you think? We've got lots in store today to keep us busy. Right, let's have a little look. Oh, did any of you manage to find, before we whiz on, our spot of the week? Did anyone find, do you remember what it was last week? A molehill. Yeah, did anyone manage to find one? I've just seen pop up in the comments that Storm saw a mole. Wowzers! That was really great because normally they're very hard to spot. And I know some of you have shared some pictures of molehills that you've spotted. So well done if you did. Don't worry if you didn't. Our spot of the week this week, well, it's going to be a really easy one. In fact, I reckon most of you could probably spot it straight away today. Oh, Ivy, you did spot one. Fantastic. Well, lots of you have got thunderstorms and rain. Oh, my goodness. Thomas and Isabel watching in Portugal. I wonder if you've got rain there or have you got some nice sunshine? Someone's asking about where you share your pictures to. There is a sharing thread on the Facebook group, which is to share your Scraptastic creations, plus any other pictures that you want to share. If you've found your spot of the week, if you want to show a little bit of your scrapbook, that is the place. So in the Facebook group, Twinkle Home Educators, and I'll pop a link in the comments to our group in case you're not a member. And there's always a sharing post on a Monday. Right, let's whiz in to Rumbles and Crumbles and think a little bit more about the weather. Well, if you've got rain today, and actually it has just started to rain outside my window, have you ever thought about where that rain actually comes from? What creates it? How does it get up there? Is it just always up there? Or where does it all go when it lands on the ground? So have a think about that. Guys, got lots of rain where you are. Some people have got dark clouds. Maybe rain is on the way. Where do we think that rain comes from? Chase says it comes from the clouds. We've got people saying the ocean. We've got the word evaporation. Oh, good word. Water droplets join together, get heavier, and then drop. Fantastic, Josh. Yes, so all those water droplets that do get evaporated, think of evaporation as it being sucked up into the air, and those droplets all join together and yeah, form these big clouds. When they get so heavy, that's when we get the rain. Have a think about this one then. What's the difference between rain, hail, and snow? How would you describe each one? Has anyone had snow this year? Well, we had some way back in January where I am. And this week we had a hailstorm, which was quite exciting. But what's the difference? What do you think between rain and hail and snow? What do they look like? How do they act as they fall through the air? What happens when they hit the ground? The clouds, yeah. Is it the type of clouds? What do you think? Hail is frozen rain, Zach. Yeah, so it's more, rather than water droplets, it's tiny ice particles, isn't it? Erin, you're right. Hail can be really hard if it lands on you, can't it? I stayed indoors when we had our hailstorm. And Maya says rain is just water, hail is ice, and water is snow and ice. And snow is just ice as well, you think? Yeah. Josh is saying snow is like an X and rain is oval and hail is round. So maybe the different shapes are formed because of the different thing that it's made up of. Temperature is the difference, I suppose. Yeah, great point. If it's not cold enough, then we won't get hail or snow, will we? And Ivy likes it when the hail bounces along the ground. Me too. Molly and Isla have been caught in a hailstorm. It does, you're right, it does hurt. So the temperature, we think, makes the difference. Yeah, the air temperature is going to influence how that water reacts when those water particles are in the air. Spot on. What about this then, Pathfinders? What causes thunder and lightning? Has anyone had any thunder and lightning this week where they are? Maybe you've got a storm brewing above you now. But what causes the thunder and lightning? Do we know? Have a little think. What do you think they are? This is maybe a trickier one. We're going to need some thinking about this. Well, Tiana's been hearing thunder the other day where she is. Oh, did you hear a rumble? Did you see any flashes of lightning? Now, Olivia's made a good point here. She said that it's the warm air meeting the cold air. And is that what gives us the rumble? Is that what gives us the flash? Air pressure. Air pressure. Finley's used a good word there. I'm loving all of this, Pathfinders. I reckon we're piecing together the answers between ourselves. Zach saying hot air. Hot air meets cold. Lewis says electricity causes the lightning. Lots of thunder, no lightning. Lots of thunder this weekend. Was beautiful to watch and very loud. Yeah, sometimes that thunder can be really quite loud, can't it? Noah and Theo, lightning is electricity. Yes, we've got some brilliant words coming up here. We've got different types of lightning being mentioned in the comments too. We've got fork lightning. And there's different types here. We can see in our picture that we've got up on screen, that is fork lightning. But you can get a different type of lightning. Does anyone know the name? Well done if you said sheet lightning, which is when it feels like the whole sky lights up and flashes rather than seeing an actual zigzag of lightning. We'll find out more about that later. So all of these words that you guys are all mentioning and talking about, they all link in to one particular thing, the water cycle. And I saw someone pop up earlier on that they've been looking at the water cycle. So this is the session for you. Here's what the water cycle can look like. This is one diagram that shows it. And you can see, we've got a few of the words that we've been talking about. We've got evaporation, the clouds, the sea. People were talking about the oceans. So have a little look at that cycle. And the thing is, it is a cycle. So you can start at any point in that picture and it will all just go in one big circle. So have a little look. We could start at the sun and see what the effect is that has on the sea is that it's making that water evaporate. It's being sucked up into the air. And then what's that word written on the cloud? Condensation. So those particles condense and form a cloud. And then we talked about the clouds becoming heavy. So here we've got the wind blowing the cloud across onto the land. That cloud's become so dark because it's heavy, full of rain. And then we've got a very fancy word for rain. Can you see that written across where the rain is falling? Precipitation, which is a word for all different types of rain, including snow and hail. Think water in whatever form falling from the sky, precipitation. So what happens to that water once it hits the ground? Well, we can see we've got some rivers there, and some of it is collected in rivers and streams. And where does that flow to? Back to the sea, and the cycle will begin again. But is it all collected in the rivers and seas? We do get some that just runs off into the ground. We've got our ground runoff, and that seeps into the ground. That water is really vital to help all of our trees and plants grow, and is stored as underground water, or groundwater, sometimes referred to. And there we go, we're back in with the cycle again, and it goes round and round and round and round and round. So well done. We picked out quite a few of those words in our chat. So that's fantastic. Right, let's have a little quiz, shall we? Should we put our brain power to the test? Come on then, Pathfinders. Have a guess at this one. Approximately how much of the Earth's surface is covered in water? Tricky. So imagine the whole Earth, our whole planet. How much of that is water? Do you think it's 85%? But this is kind of a percentage. If this is a new thing for you, it's like out of 100. So if it was 100%, that would mean there's no land, there's just water. So is it 85%, 85 out of 100? Is it 70%, a bit less? Or is it only half of our world that's covered with water? What do you reckon? We've got high percentages being guessed. I don't think anyone's guessing 50. We're going with 70 or 85. Shall we find out? 70% water. Wow. That really makes you realise the land isn't hardly as significant, is it? That's what's going on in the water. Hey, and those of you that joined our virtual ocean adventure earlier this year, you will know just what's going on in that water and what a busy place it is. Let's have a look at another question. Warm, moist air rises into the sky and cools to form what? Clouds, puddles, or streams? What happens to that warm, moist air as it rises up? What does it form? Clouds, puddles, or streams? Of course, yes, it forms clouds. Well done. Let's have another. Hail, snow, and rain and sleet are all types of what? It's one of our fancy new words. But is it evaporation, transpiration, or precipitation? You can just type 1, 2, or 3 in the comments if you want. Is it evaporation? Is it transpiration? Or is it precipitation? What do you reckon? We're going with 3. Well done if you said that. Precipitation is our fancy word for anything wet that falls from the sky. That's our precipitation. Well done. What is the water that is underground called? Is it called runoff? Is it called groundwater? Or is it meltwater? What do we think for this one? Have we got our guesses coming in? What are we going with? It is groundwater. Yeah, easy, underground. That's our groundwater. Where does most river water end up? So what happens to all that water that falls and flows into the rivers? Does that river water end up in the mountains? Does it end up in the seas and oceans? Or does it end up in the ground? What happens to that? We're all guessing. We're all going middle within the seas and oceans. Yes, of course, ends up in the seas and oceans. if it ended up in the mountains, the river would be kind of flowing the opposite way, wouldn't it? So it's always going to flow downstream and into those oceans and the seas. Fantastic job, Pathfinders. That was brilliant. Right, I reckon it's just about time for our spot of the week. Do you want to know what it is this week? Let's take a look.
Hello, Pathfinders. It's time for our spot of the week. We've been exploring weather a bit this week, listening for rumbles in the air. So let's look up and see if we can spot some clouds this week. You might think that's quite an easy spot of the week, but do you know what type of clouds you're spotting? Well, let's start by thinking about what a cloud is. Clouds are formed as part of the water cycle, when the temperature of the atmosphere changes dramatically. Water from lakes and oceans turns into water vapour. Water vapour is a gas, and this rises through the air where it gets cooler and is under a lot less pressure. The air keeps cooling and the air pressure drops, and the air is no longer able to hold all that water vapour. Because of this, the water vapour begins to turn into small droplets or ice crystals, and a cloud is formed. Let's take a look at some different types of clouds. Cumulus clouds, seen on clear sunny days. Sometimes they're called fair weather clouds. The base of these clouds are flat. They sometimes start around 1,000 metres above the ground. Stratus clouds, featureless clouds seen on overcast, drizzly days. Sometimes the base of these clouds can be on the ground level as fog or mist. These are cirrus clouds, usually seen during clear sunny weather. These clouds form at around 6,000 metres upwards from the ground. Cumulonimbus. These are thunderstorm clouds. The dark bases of the cumulonimbus clouds sometimes start just 300 metres from the ground, but the tops may go up to 1,200 metres above the ground. So there's our spot of the week. 2 different types of clouds. Have fun spotting, Pathfinders.
Right then, Pathfinders, there's the challenge. You could even have a look out the window now, if you're near one, and let me know what sort of clouds you've got. Is it a big blanket of cloud? Is it dark, huge, looming clouds? Is it white, puffy clouds? Have a little look. And then this week, see how many types of cloud you can spot. Izzy, thanks for reminding me. Twinkle has a cloud spotter. It's probably in your planning pack, Pathfinders. But if you can't find it, search cloud spotter. And that's a brilliant thing because it's a frame with all the different types of clouds around the outside. So you can easily spot which one you're looking at. Perfect. Stratus clouds with Zach, Brock and Forrest today. No clouds, no clouds in the sky with somebody. Erin says we have stratus clouds. Mix of white and grey clouds, and sometimes there can be a muddle of different clouds depending what's going on up there. So you might have 2 different types. A big blanket with no blue, Ava. So what sort of cloud do you think that might be? Have a little think. Right, so there's your spot of the week this week, Pathfinders. Have a little look and see what clouds you can spot. Right. Now, time to head outside and do a bit of exploring, I reckon, don't you? This week, I went in search of something rather yummy. Let's have a look and see what I found.
Let's explore. Hello, Pathfinders. What's the weather like with you today? Well, this week it's been a bit of a mixture of everything. It's a bit breezy today and there's quite a lot of clouds up ahead. I'm hoping it doesn't rain. I'm in search of something yummy today, Pathfinders. I wonder if you can guess what it is. It's a fruit. It grows wild on brambly, spiky bushes. It's very dark in colour, almost black. And it tastes really sweet and delicious. What do you think it might be? Yes, blackberries. Should we see if we can find some? Blackberries mostly grow throughout August, but if the weather's not been great, it might take a bit longer, and you might find them nearer September time. Have you spotted any where you live? I can't see any yet. I've come down near the river because moist or damp land is the best place for blackberries to grow. Let's have a look over there. I've spotted something, Pathfinders. Do you see those whitish pink flowers there? Those are the flowers that grow on a blackberry bush before the fruit arrives. But I think this must be quite a young plant. There's no sign of any fruit yet. Aha, I think this is what I've been looking for. Yes, I can see a huge blackberry bush. Make sure that you pick the blackberries when they're really dark purple. Try to avoid any green or red ones. And when you pick them from the tree, try and make sure you don't pull off the stem and the leaves with it, because this will help the plant be sustainable. And then more people can cut and find blackberries too. I'm looking for the perfect blackberry. Aha! Can you see that there? That's the one for me. Take a look at those delicious blackberries. Make sure you don't pick more than you plan to eat. It can be really tempting to get carried away and pick loads. But remember who else this might be food for. The birds and animals that live in this area. So leave plenty on the bush for them. I definitely felt a few spots of rain there. I might head back soon. Isn't it strange how in one day we can have blazing sunshine and a beautiful blue sky, and then big white billowing clouds and a grey dark sky? Just in this one sky behind me, I've got all sorts of different clouds. I've got a blue sky over here, and then the other side I've got big grey clouds. Do you think a storm is on the way? And I think I'm heading home in time because it's starting to rain. I think I made the right decision. It is really rainy and windy out there. With gloomy weather outside, I've decided to do some cooking. I'm going to use the blackberries that I picked earlier to make a blackberry crumble. So let's get ready to crumble! When you've been out in the cold and wind and rain, there's nothing quite like a bowl of crumble to warm you up. So let's get cooking, Pathfinders. Here's all the ingredients I'm going to need, along with the blackberries I picked earlier. First thing to do is to peel and chop up the apples. And take your time doing this because it can be a little bit fiddly. You want to chop them into. They're going to add the sugar in there as well. Once the pan's on the heat, the sugar will start to dissolve and the apples will start breaking down a little bit. Okay, while the apples are cooking, we're going to make the crumble topping. So we add our flour and butter into a bowl. And this is where it gets a little bit messy. We're going to use our fingers to do something called rubbing in, which is when we rub the butter between our fingers in amongst the flour and keep rubbing it till it squishes down, and you'll end up, if you keep doing it, you'll end up with something that looks a bit like breadcrumbs. Once it looks a bit like this, we're going to add in our sugar, and I'm adding in some oats too, and just give this a bit of a mix. Let's check in on the apples. So once they start to look a bit like this, broken down a little bit, then we can add in our blackberries. So pop the fruit mixture into the bottom of the dish and then put your crumble on the top. All done, and now we just pop it in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. Don't forget the washing up. Well, the crumble is in the oven cooking, and now look what's happened to the weather. Can you see the hailstones bouncing off the windowsill? Fresh out of the oven. It smells amazing. And can you believe it? The sun's come out and the blue sky is back. So as the sun has finally come out, I've decided to take my crumble and turn it into a picnic. Let's do the taste test. It's so good. Will you go blackberry picking this week?
Sorry. I'm sorry if that was a little bit glitchy for you, that video. It was a bit here and I can't always tell what's going on from your point of view. So I'm really sorry if it was a bit stop-start. I think the weather might be wreaking havoc with my internet today. We might all be in for a storm, but hopefully you got the gist of it. And I wonder if you've still got blackberries around where you are, because since I made that crumble, I've spotted loads more blackberries. So I think because we didn't have an amazing summer, they're a little bit slower. So if you've got some that you picked through the summer that you've frozen away in the freezer, perfect to get them out and make a crumble this week, or go and see if you can still find some. I think there's still some around to be had on the bushes. And maybe you'll have a rumbly, crumbly picnic too. It was super yummy. You're going to the woods, Ella, to pick blackberries. Crumble for dinner. Oh, that sounds amazing. Hey, if any of you have a go at the crumble recipe, send us a picture. Let us know what it was like. No blackberries in Portugal. You might have to improvise there. I wonder what fruit's growing in Portugal at this time of year. Or you could make something else. Someone said an idea of a berries cheesecake. Delicious. What else will your blackberries become? And remember, be careful when you're picking those blackberries. Try not to disturb the bushes too much. We want to look after whosever habitat that is and save some for the birds and animals too. Right then, Pathfinders. So we had some hail in that video, but no rumble. I haven't had a thunderstorm yet, but shall we whiz back to thunderstorms and find out a little bit more about them? Let's take a look.
About thunderstorms. A normal storm is when there's heavy rain and wind. But what changes a normal storm into a thunderstorm is the presence of lightning and thunder. Let's investigate how thunder and lightning happen. Thunderstorms happen when the air in the sky is unstable. This is caused by warm air rising quickly. The warm air hits the higher, colder air, and this causes turbulence. Rain or even hail starts to form from the moisture in the air. The rain cools the air and pushes it around, making winds. The storm builds and becomes more aggressive, and tiny pieces of ice inside the clouds move around. The tiny bits of ice bash into each other and rub together, and this causes static electricity. Eventually, the static electricity builds up so much that it has to let out the energy from the bottom of the cloud, and this is where we see the bright light that is lightning. There are two types of lightning: sheet lightning and fork lightning. Sheet lightning is sometimes called intra-cloud lightning and happens when the electricity is released within the cloud and stays in the sky. Fork lightning is the zigzag line of lightning that can go from cloud to cloud or from cloud to ground. So what's the connection between thunder and lightning? Well, thunder is the noise that lightning makes as the electricity bangs and escapes. The reason you don't often hear thunder at the same time as seeing lightning is that light travels faster than sound. So you see the lightning almost straight away, and the noise of the thunder can take a little longer to reach your ears. What time is it? It's quiz time! True. As the storm travels closer to you, the lightning and the thunder sound get closer together. And the answer is true. As light travels faster than sound, the lightning will always seem to happen first, but the closer the storm, the less distance the sound has to travel. Which of these is fork lightning? Can you remember? It's this one. It looks a little bit like a fork. A good place to stand in a storm is under a tree. True or false? It's false. Avoid standing under a tree as they're tall and they're often hit by lightning. Getting as low to the ground as possible and avoiding water or open spaces is the best thing to do if you're caught in a storm.
Well, there we go. So we know a little bit more about thunder and lightning. Some of you with some great comments. Killian said, now you were super brave the other day, weren't you? You had, Killian had thunder so loud, it made the house shake. So you had to be really brave. Well done, Killian. I'm really proud of you. It can feel a bit scary, can't it, sometimes? And we've got another comment. If you count the seconds between seeing the lightning and hearing the thunder, it will tell you roughly how many miles away the storm is. 1 second is roughly 1 mile away. That's a really great tip. Thank you for that. So you know often if the storm is getting closer or if it's traveling further away. Fantastic. Pathfinders, you are full of little nuggets of information. I love it. And talking of which, it's about time we joined our pack presenters this week, don't you think? And you're in for a big treat with Isla and Quinn, who have made an amazing video for you. I'm keeping everything crossed that we don't get any glitches and you get to see it all in all its wonder, because it's pretty good. Let's see what they've been up to.
I'm Isla. And I'm Quinn. This is Halia. This is Piper. And welcome to our Pathfinder video, The Quest for Clouds. Hey, that cloud looks like a sheep. Can you see it? No? Can you see it now? Hey, that one looks like a puppy. Do you see it? Hey, that was a trick, you sneak. I'm a cloud scientist. We are cloud scientists, and we're here to show you about clouds. Go on a walk with us to the great unknown, full of clouds, to find perfect clouds to do cloud spotting for your little fluffy animal clouds. The end of this clip. Did we do it? Cirrus clouds are high altitude clouds with
ice cream in them. Nom nom nom.
Once we reached the clearing in the forest, we stopped to enjoy the view and to explain to Hoodie and Piper all about clouds. We told Hoodie and Piper how clouds are formed from water or vapor in the air and that they can be very high in the sky. These high altitude clouds tend to be big blankets that cover the whole sky, and we call them cirrus clouds. They are so high up that they're made of ice particles. But clouds at the middle altitude are called alto clouds, and they can be in the sky at the same time as cirrus ones. So it looks like two layers of clouds at the same time. They happen when air pressure is changing, and air pressure is important for a reason we talk about later. Clouds at low altitude are called fog. No, not that low. They're low to the ground by the names we give their shapes. Oh yeah, we told Hoodie and Piper all about stratus clouds, which look like long lines of carpet, and stratocumulus clouds, which are long and streaky but also a bit fluffy, and we told them about cumulus clouds, which are the ones that are perfect for the game because cumulus clouds are the ones that are fluffy and small, and there are lots of them. So you can look at all around the sky and lots of animal shapes in them. But we were on our walk in September and in Britain, so of course we didn't see these clouds on our walk. Instead we saw other types of clouds that are found when the pressure is low enough to bring the clouds low to the ground. And those are nimbus clouds. They bring the rain. You can get cumulonimbus or nimbus stratus ones, but nimbus means rain, and we told our friends how when it rains, it's hard to have fun and play cloud games.
It's a shame we didn't get to find the perfect clouds. Yeah, at least we get to go on this really, really fun walk instead. Lead the way, Piper.
The moral of this story is that sometimes when you go out looking for something, you don't always find it, but you probably and most definitely will have a great time doing it.
Oh, you guys, that was brilliant. If anyone missed that very last thing because of the glitching, they said sometimes when you go out looking for things, you don't always find it, but you'll definitely have fun along the way. And I think that is spot on, and something which as Pathfinders we all know, right? Sometimes you can be going out to try and find a rainbow or a squirrel or whatever it is, and you don't see it, but the chances are you discover some new stuff along the way anyway, and you definitely have fun. So Ayla and Quinn, you have some lovely comments coming in from your Pathfinder friends. The stop frame animation, that was brilliant. I love how you used your toys to try and teach them all about clouds. Noah and Theo say, well done, very interesting and entertaining. And Nola loves the nature walk. Yeah, you always have fun, Nola, see, don't you? Well done. Izzy said, that was the best. Well done. Really creative. And that is what I want the Pathfinder Pack Presenters to be all about. If you feel a bit nervous to give it a go, just be yourself and know that everybody gets a bit nervous when they're doing something new, or when you're putting yourself out there. You know what, Pathfinders, I always feel nervous just before I click that go live button and I come to see you all, and then I think, what was I nervous about? It's the Pathfinders, they're amazing, and we're always happy to see each other. So everybody gets a bit worried, but doing something new is always worth a go. And a big well done to our Pathfinder Pack Presenters this week. Right then, gang, shall we head over to Creative Corner and see what's in store today? Right then, we're at Creative Corner. I've got my scrapbook. We'll have a little look at that in a minute. But my challenge for you this week for Creative Corner, or our activity this week, which you can do yourselves at home, is to create a soundscape. Now, does anyone know what a soundscape is? Any ideas? A soundscape. What does it sound like? So think about, if we were talking about painting a picture, we might talk about painting the landscape. But a soundscape isn't what we can see, it's what we can hear. So perfect for our Rumbles and Crumbles session this week. You're going to try and create your very own thunderstorm. You can use whatever you fancy. You can use some things that you find in nature. You can use some scrap materials. See if you could do it is a bigger challenge without using anything that's meant to create a sound normally. So try to avoid using any musical instruments, for example. Try and think about, how can I create that sort of sound using what I've got to hand, using things from around the house or things out in nature. So I have been out and about this morning already, gathering a few bits and bobs, as you can see, for my soundscape. And let's have a look what I've got in here. I found some long grass, which was left over from some gardening and hedge trimming I was doing. And I thought, well, this is quite a nice, makes quite a good sound. I'll try and do it so you can hear it. And it kind of reminded me of the rain on the windows. I could kind of make a sort of pitter-pattering sound with it. What else have I got? Yes. I found some pieces of slate in my garden. There is slate everywhere where I live, so it's easy to find. And this kind of reminded me of the hailstorm this week when I tapped those two together. Two bigger stones, if you can hear that, made quite a nice low rumble. And then I was thinking, well, if I went even bigger and got some even bigger stones, would the rumble get lower? Would it get louder? So there's another option. Have a go at that. And what else have I got? I've got some stones in here, which I've put inside a tin can. And again, I thought, well, I could either drop them in, a bit like a hailstorm, or I can give them a shake, which kind of feels a bit more like a thunder rumble, perhaps. I found some scrunched up, really scrunchy paper, which again, I quite enjoyed that. It did remind me a bit of a thunder rumble echoing across the sky. And what else have I got? Some sticks. I didn't really think of what to do with those. A whole box full of stuff. And some apples from the tree in my garden. And I put them in a shoebox. Quite a good thunder sound, don't you think? Yeah, so lots and lots to experiment with. That's what I found, but you go and have a little go yourself. Will anyone make a soundscape this week and enjoy hearing nature just as much as seeing it? Right then, what else this week? Well, you got busy after our last week's session, didn't you, with which was our Marvelous Mud session, creating some wonderful Scraptastic creations. I challenged you last week to create the word Pathfinders out of things you find in nature. And you did not disappoint me, Pathfinders. You were amazing at it. We've got some beautiful Pathfinder words, all created in different ways. There's not one two that are the same. Everyone's is so unique and different, and I love them all. So let's have a look at them, shall we? Here they come. Some fantastic ones. I told you, aren't they all brilliant? All your Pathfinder friends, all off creating their own Pathfinder words. I love to think of the thought of these words being discovered by people that don't know what Pathfinders is. And they've spotted Pathfinders in different places. We're spreading the words. Well done, everyone. They were brilliant. And some awesome finds this week. Some people spotted a hedgehog in their garden. We had some photos sent in from one of the Pathfinders who are on a big adventure in Mauritius at the moment. So some very exotic photos, and some of you finding molehills as well this week. It was brilliant to see. So I suppose you want a new Scraptastic challenge for this week, yeah? You did well with the first one. Shall we see what your Scraptastic challenge is today?
To be Scraptastic. For this week's Scraptastic creation, we're making the water cycle. Here's what I'm using to make mine. I've got glue and scissors, colouring pens, some tissue paper, old packaging and different coloured paper. I'm starting by cutting up an old cereal box to use as the background for my picture. Now to add a background colour, which is going to be blue for the sky. I'm adding a line of blue for the groundwater right at the bottom of my picture, and then I'm just using an old envelope to create the ground above it. Now to add some fields and hills, and I've used green tissue paper for this. I've chopped up a cereal box to create some fields of crops and some trees. Added a sunshine in the sky and a lake and river. Let's add some clouds and some rain. My water cycle is really starting to take shape now. I've added some other features showing how the water behaves at different points in the cycle. Some arrows show the directions that the water is travelling. Let's add some colour to these. And now I've labelled it. Let's take a closer look now at the water cycle. What's actually happening here? And we'll start right at the top with those fluffy white clouds. Precipitation happens when water droplets fall from the clouds as rain. When the water falls to the ground, it will move across the land as surface runoff. It will either soak into the soil to become groundwater, this is called infiltration, or collect in seas, streams, lakes and rivers. Water moves through plants and leaves, and they expel water into the air. This is known as transpiration. The sun heats the surface of a water collection, and some of the water changes state to water vapour. This is known as evaporation. During the evaporation stage, the warm air rises, so the water vapour rises too. Condensation happens as the warm air cools down, and the water vapour condenses into a liquid called water droplets. These form together to make clouds. The collection of water droplets get bigger and bigger until they're too heavy, and we're back to precipitation, and the whole cycle begins again.
And there it is. That's my water cycle that I've made. So I can add this now to our creative corner. You might choose, if you make one, to stick it into your scrapbook, or maybe you've got a display. You could even take a photo of it and put it in your scrapbook, but that's going up there in our creative corner. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, well, this whole corner will just be full of things. So scrapbooks this week. First of all, let's have a quick whiz through and look at some of your scrapbooks from last week, because your ideas and things that you've done just might inspire other Pathfinders. We've had a few brilliant examples sent in, and it's lovely to see you using this, because we know this was a new resource, wasn't it? And I was wondering how you'd get on with it, but guys, it's awesome. Have a little look at some of these things that the Pathfinders have done. We've got some brilliant stories and artwork. We've had some lovely front covers, photographs of your finds, stories and things. Someone's put their Pathfinder, a photo of their Pathfinder's word in there. I love the way this this marvellous mud page has been decorated with lots of brown splodgy mud. We've got lots and lots of detail being used, and it's up to you what you include each week, remember, Pathfinders. So if one week you think, I really want to do a fact file, then there's a page for you to do for that. If another week you're feeling very artistic and you want to do it in pictures, then do that. Some more lovely front covers, brilliant colouring in. We've got some stories in the form of like a sort of cartoon there. Look at this, gorgeous. Loads of brilliant work from all of you. So do feel free to share these on your sharing post, on our sharing post. We won't necessarily share everyone's scrapbook every week if we get tons and tons, but it's there for you to share on the sharing post, to have a look at other people's and to get some inspiration. Look at that for a colourful one. Lots and lots of details. And make it your own, Pathfinders. That's the most important thing. They look gorgeous. Yes, you're right. Ivy really likes them too. And it is, you're right, brilliant seeing how everyone's used their scrapbook. So here's mine. And now I've made a bit of a start on this week's, but I've got a little way to go. This week, well, I had to include this week, which way up am I going? My weather journal. So I've started doing that for this week, and I might do it for next week as well and put 2 in there. And I've got my Rumbles and Crumbles title that I've coloured and some blackberries, but I've got lots of spaces still to add more in for this week. So keep going with your scrapbooks, and then you can enjoy in a few weeks' time looking back and reminding yourself of all the different adventures that you had along the way. Right then, team. Oh, it's been a long one today. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a lovely time with you all. Apologies if there were any glitches your end with the internet. I think the storms are affecting us a little bit. So let me know how you get on this week when you're out and about. Keep us posted. Have a go at a soundscape. Create your own storm using those things. Maybe have a little go at adding something to your scrapbook, or perhaps make your own water cycle picture. We'll share some of your Scraptastic creations this week, so get creative with that. Can't wait to see them, as always. Have a brilliant week then, Pathfinders, and I'll see you all again really soon. Bye, everyone.
Enjoy golden autumn sunsets. Discover seeds upon the ground. On our Pathfinder adventures, there are so many treasures to be found. We'll journey on together, sharing what we know, looking after nature everywhere we go.